Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
You're about to hear why Meghan Markle's name keeps getting dragged back toward the Epstein orbit, why a convicted insider suddenly became interested in a duchess-turned-influencer, and why a U.S. judge slammed the door shut on records everyone thought would blow this wide open. By the end of this video, you'll know 3 things most people don't: how Meghan's pre-royal social circles keep resurfacing in legal conversations, why lawyers working for Epstein survivors thought she could help their case, and why her silence right now is actually louder than any denial. Let's talk. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time zone you're in, this one is messy. Somewhere behind high walls and barbed wire, a woman who was at the center of Jeffrey Epstein's operation started talking. Not about cafeteria food, not about appeals, about people, about names. And one of the names that rippled out into the world was Meghan Markle. Not from a tabloid blogger, not from a random burner account, but from someone who actually lived inside that world. And that alone made people stop and say, wait, why her? Here's where this gets interesting. Long before Duchess, long before Netflix, long before lifestyle brands and jam jars, Meghan moved in very elite, very curated circles. That's not an accusation. That's a fact. Hollywood adjacent, royal adjacent, money adjacent. The kind of rooms where invitations appear but nobody ever explains how they got to you. The claim that started swirling wasn't Meghan committed a crime. It wasn't even Meghan was part of Epstein's abuse. It was something murkier and, honestly, harder to disprove. That she knew people, that she'd crossed paths, that she had visibility. And in that world, she knew is sometimes more dangerous than she did. Now, pause on Maxwell for a second, because this didn't happen in a vacuum. Before this chatter, before this prison wall gossip, lawyers tied to one of Epstein's most vocal survivors were already looking Meghan's way. Not for photo op, not for clout, for testimony, for information, for context. A lawyer doesn't float the idea of deposing someone that high profile unless they think that person can confirm something. And the language that came out back then was very specific. Meghan was described as someone who could reasonably be expected to tell the truth about what she saw, who she was around, and what was happening around certain royals, yes, including Prince Andrew. That's not Stan Twitter. That's a legal strategy. So now stack it. An insider talking from prison plus a legal team that previously thought Meghan could strengthen a survivor's case. Even if both pieces are imperfect, together they create what I call suspicion by proximity. You don't have to prove criminal behavior. You just have to show she was close enough to know. And that alone is explosive for someone whose entire brand is built on transparency, empowerment, and speaking my truth. Then comes the part that made people side-eye the whole situation. A U.S. judge denied the release of certain Epstein-related material, citing protection of victims and no significant public benefit. On paper, fair. In practice, suspicious. Because if there's truly nothing in there that would change public understanding, then why are powerful names always getting mentioned privately as people who should prepare for disclosures? Why was Prince Andrew, of all people, being told to brace? You don't tell someone to brace for nothing. And here's where Meghan's name becomes vulnerable. If Andrew is in conversations, and Meghan was socially close to Andrew's circles at points, and lawyers believed she could clarify things, then her name appearing in the orbit isn't some wild conspiracy. It's just math. It's, you were in those rooms, so you might have seen things. Now let me say this clearly. Meghan Markle has not been charged with anything in the Epstein case. There is no public document proving she was part of Epstein's crimes. That matters. What we're talking about is reputational crossfire. When a dirty network gets exposed, everyone who ever brushed elbows with it gets re-examined. And Meghan, unlike most people, lives off perception. That's why the silence is so loud. Because this is a woman who sues tabloids, corrects headlines, appears in documentaries, drops podcasts, does tell-alls, and claps back when she feels misrepresented. That's normal for her. So, why no statement here? Why no this is false, defamatory, and dangerous? Why no lawyer letter? There are only a few reasons you stay quiet in a storm like this. 1. You don't want to amplify it. 2. You're letting your legal team monitor it. Or 3. The one the internet always picks. You don't want discovery. Because discovery means emails, texts, travel, guests who introduced who, when, and why. And if your whole post-royal persona is, I got away from toxic people, you do not want to hand over receipts that show you might have been closer to those people than the public ever knew. This is where the brand versus record problem kicks in. Meghan has sold herself as the woman who tells you everything. The palace tried to silence me. The British media was racist. The institution was cold. I found my voice. That's the arc. That arc only works if you tell everything. But if there is even one chapter, one friend group, one party list, one connection to a now disgraced royal that you didn't disclose, then the audience starts asking, okay, so what else didn't you tell us? And that's fatal for a lifestyle brand, because lifestyle brands are built on trust. If I don't trust you, I don't buy your jam, your wellness, your podcast, your courses, your docuseries, your whatever. Now, let's talk Harry, because he's the collateral character in every Meghan story. Here's a guy who literally burned his royal life down to protect his wife from an institution he says destroyed his mother, walked away from his brother, blew up his relationship with his father, gave up the uniform, told the world the palace was cruel. All for her. So imagine the optics if he ever had to face the possibility that the woman he defended didn't disclose everything about the one scandal the monarchy is absolutely terrified of, the Epstein/Andrew era. Even if her involvement was only, I was in that circle, I saw that person, I knew that girl, Harry would have wanted to know. If he didn't, that's not just messy, that's marital betrayal. And the internet knows it. That's why this story has legs. Not because anyone proved she did something criminal, but because it hits every YouTube nerve. Secrecy, royals, Epstein, sealed files, PR silence, and a marriage that might not have the whole truth. And here's the kicker. This story isn't going away because it's attached to an open-ended sentence. Somewhere, allegedly, there is or was a document. Somewhere, allegedly, there are sealed files. Somewhere, allegedly, a survivor's lawyer still believes Meghan could help the record. That's not a rumor. That's a narrative with an unresolved ending. And unresolved endings fuel content forever. So where does this go? 1. Nothing leaks and Meghan says nothing. That's the best outcome for her. Worst for transparency. 2. Something leaks, maybe out of context, maybe partial, maybe nothing burger, but the perception damage is done. 3. A future legal action drags old names back in, and suddenly everyone wants to know who is where and when. In all 3 scenarios, silence isn't neutral. It makes her look like she's hoping time will bury it. But this is the internet. We don't bury royal scandals. We bookmark them. So here's my question to you, and I want honest answers in the comments. Should Meghan address any and all Epstein-adjacent chatter now, while she still controls the narrative, or should she keep doing the soft-launch lifestyle brand rollout and pretend none of this exists? Because one strategy protects the brand today, and the other protects the reputation forever. Pick wrong, and the vault won't be the only thing that cracks.